Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of In Pursuit of a Parlay. I'm your host, Chris Horwedel. Friday late night edition so we can get ahead of the bowl games. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, it's bowl season. And I could not be more excited about it. I'll tell you what else I couldn't be more excited about. The absolute overwhelming support we've seen from you guys week in and week out. The show gets bigger and bigger, and I am more and more thankful for that. Please continue doing what you're doing. If you're watching on YouTube, like, subscribe, smash that like button. That's what they say. Comment. And if you're checking us out on Spotify or the podcast platform of your preference, subscribe, rate, review, comment, do all of that good stuff. Thank you again so much. It's awesome. And, it's appreciated. As always, as you can see, I have bovadasportsbook.com open in front of me, and we're going to talk about, we've got two bowl games that I find particularly interesting, and 6 NFL games on the schedule today. Let's start. Our first game is going to be right here, 2:15 p.m. Eastern Time from Las Vegas. The Las Vegas Bowl, Florida, at number 14, Oregon State. We're showing Oregon State's going to win this one about 60% of the time. Florida is an interesting situation right now because they find themselves without 4 very important starters on this team. They're going to be without quarterback Anthony Richardson, who went pro. They're going to be without all-world offensive guard Osiris Torrance, who is also going pro. Ventrell Miller, Justin Shorter will also not be opting to play in the bowl game. Good news for them, Gervon Dexter will be in the lineup, but they're going to be down to their third-string quarterback. They'll be starting Jack Miller, the Ohio State transfer. He's going to get his first ever start, number 3 on the depth chart, earlier this season. Get his first ever start, and unfortunately it comes against a pretty darn good Oregon State defense. They gave up 21.4 points per game. That was good for 31st in the nation. Good run team, 199.2 yards per game, 27th in the nation, and that was led by Damian Martinez. They can run the ball. They can stop other teams. As a recipe for success, especially against a third-string quarterback. We are showing the odds are not quite where we thought, but we do expect an Oregon State win here, an Oregon State cover here, about 65% of the time. And that number is currently sitting at -8.5 at Bovada. So we are going to make this our first pick of the week. Go Oregon State. Go hard on that, -8.5, -110. Our first pick in this week's parlay. And we move on to our other bowl game. And this one's fun because there are some under-the-radar NFL prospects here. Another Saturday game, the New Mexico Bowl, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time from Albuquerque, New Mexico, featuring SMU versus BYU. And we're showing SMU is going to win this one outright just over half the time, more or less. SMU is a really fun team for those people who haven't seen it. Dynamic passing offense. Quarterback Taylor Mordecai has a superstar to throw to, Rashee Rice. 96 catches, 10 touchdowns, 1,355 yards on the season for a guy who I wouldn't be shocked if he snuck into the late first round of this year's NFL draft. Just saying, he's that good. The sixth best passing offense is SMU, 324.9 yards per game, and the 13th best scoring offense, 38.4 points per game. For BYU, they were 7-5 on the season, led by quarterback Jaron Hall, who early in the season was one of those dark horse Heisman Trophy candidates, but fell off a little bit as the season went on. Good passing offense, 32nd in the nation, 266.6. 52nd in the nation in rushing yards. Problem is, for as good an offense as they are, they don't put the ball in the end zone quite as much as you would like, and they don't really stop anyone from doing it. So while Jaren Hall is a fun player to watch, this one really, really does feel like SMU big. And I'm not going to put it on the card here, but I'm saying the over right here, 64.5 minus 110, a fascinating pick. But we're going to go SMU -4, minus 115 at Bovada for our second pick of this parlay, which is going to take us up to plus 257. Not bad. 2 picks in. And we turn our attention to the National Football League. A lot more fun college football games coming up in the next couple of weeks, by the way. We move to the NFL, and the first game we're going to talk about, we've got this one, but this is pulled up. Baltimore Ravens, Cleveland Browns. We're showing the Browns are going to win this one outright about 55% of the time. Taylor Huntley at quarterback for the Ravens, and they're lucky to have him, quite frankly, after the injury to Lamar Jackson. Huntley has been adequate, but he has been a little bit banged up. If that becomes a problem, Anthony Brown is next in line, and that becomes a giant problem if that happens. Baltimore's 9-4. They're in first place in the AFC North, and that's what it all comes down to. What kind of quarterback player are they going to get? Because Lamar Jackson was that offense for the Ravens. For Cleveland, 5-8, third place in the AFC North. You feel like this is the week it clicks a little bit. It kind of has to. They're at home on a Saturday national game. This is going to be Watson's third game with the Browns. Feels like it's about time for it to click. They have been working some stuff out, to put it nicely, over the last couple of weeks. It hasn't been smooth going, but I think they are going to get going. We're showing Cleveland's going to cover this one about 70% of the time, and I'm comfortable with that. We're going to make Cleveland -3, minus 105 at Bovada, our third pick of this parlay, and that's going to bring our number all the way up to plus 632. Hey, I say it every week. Putting these 8-pick parlays together is a lot of fun, and the numbers can get astronomical, but they're incredibly tough to hit. I encourage you, pick and choose, take what you like, add them to yours, or place a one bet if that's what you want to do. I don't want to be responsible for anybody losing money. That's all. That's not what we're here for. We're here to win some money. Our next game, first game on this list, the Indianapolis Colts versus the Minnesota Vikings. Again, this is another Saturday game, 1 o'clock in Minnesota. And we're showing the Vikings are going to win this one outright about 73% of the time. This Colts team, this is one of those lines I don't understand this week, because this line feels like it's disrespectful to the Vikings. And the Colts, that one game against the Raiders was fun, but it was the Raiders, and they're 0-3 since then, including coming off of a 54-19 loss to the Cowboys. They're not good, is the spoiler here. The Vikings are 10-3. They are in first place in the NFC North, with the surging Lions coming on their tail. Lost last week to the Lions, 34-23, but have won four of their last 6 prior to that. It's a good football team that is being disrespected right now, and that is always an opportunity for value, and we're going to take it. I think this is a fairly easy Vikings cover this week, so we're going to go Vikings -3.5, minus 110 at Bovada for our fourth pick in this parlay to bring our number all the way up to plus 1297. If you could see me, you'd see I'm pointing up in the air, and things are very exciting. Our next game is a game I personally am excited about. Philadelphia Eagles at the Chicago Bears. I keep waiting for that trap game for my beloved Eagles. I don't think this is the week, but I do have some thoughts for sure. We're showing the Eagles are going to win this one outright about 85% of the time. For Philly, this offense is just, they're going. For the first time in quite a long time, they have a 1,000-yard rusher in Miles Sanders at 1,068 yards and 11 touchdowns, and a 1,000-yard receiver in A.J. Brown, 1,020 yards, 10 touchdowns so far. And the whole thing is orchestrated by MVP candidate Jalen Hurts, 3,157 yards passing, and one of the most dynamic offensive weapons in all of the National Football League. And let's not forget, Philadelphia, 12-1, winning 92% of their games, first place, best record in the NFL right now. For Chicago, they're 3-10. They're in fourth place in the NFC North, and you have to think that things are going to be shutting down a little bit here. Justin Fields, very much like in Baltimore, where Lamar is the offense, Justin Fields is the offense here. 1,896 yards passing and 905 yards rushing. That's a crazy number. And it contributes to the fact that their 189.2 rushing yards per game is first in all of the NFL. Now they're 30th in the NFL in points against. And that is a problem, giving up 25.6 points per game while only scoring 20. Horrible, horrible, horrible passing team. 140 yards per game, dead last in the NFL. So the line and our numbers here say Philly covers this one 90% of the time. I don't trust it. I don't trust the 9. And for that reason, and that reason only, I'm going to take Eagles money line minus 420 at Bovada. And that is going to bring our parlay now 5 picks in up to plus 1629, which is still a very, very respectable number. Our 6th game right here. The Detroit Lions head to New York to take on the New York Jets. We're showing the Jets win this one more often than not. Mike White is out. Zach Wilson gets to return to being the starting quarterback for this team. It's going to be interesting to see if he can win over a team that he seemed to have lost over these past couple of weeks. I mean, the guys were wearing Mike White t-shirts to the game last week. The Lions can score the football. They are an absolutely dynamic offense, 26.8 points per game, 5th in the NFL. They are 7th in total passing yards. They are 11th in rushing yards per game. And they are trending up in a gigantic way, having won 5 of their last 6. Like I said, they're not eliminated from the playoffs yet. They're not eliminated from the playoffs. And I don't think this is going to be the week it happens. The Jets are 7-6. They've been a great story, but they've lost 4 of their last 6. The quarterback play has been very bad. The quarterback play from Zach Wilson has been very bad. 15th overall in passing in the NFL, 224.8, 112.1 rushing yards per game. Very good defense, 18.7 points per game against, good for 6th in the NFL. But I'm gonna. It's hard to go in that direction. It's hard to pick Zach Wilson at this point. We're showing the Lions are going to cover this one about 60% of the time, and I agree. However, anyone who's watched the show or listened to the show in the past knows if we're talking about similar-ish numbers, line versus money line, we'll give ourselves a little leeway here, and rather than the 110 for the minus 1.5, we'll take Lions money line minus 125 at Bovada for our 6th pick, and that's going to take our parlay up to plus 30-13. Good money. Our 7th game, right here, the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Houston Texans. We're showing the Chiefs are going to win this one about 85% of the time. Look, if it's not Jalen Hurts, it's Patrick Mahomes for quarterback, for MVP of this league this year. He's been outstanding. 4,160 yards passing so far, 33 touchdowns. Travis Kelce has been remarkable for this team, over 1,000 yards receiving and 12 touchdowns. The Chiefs have won 6 of their last 7. Their 10-3 record is good for first place in the AFC West. And their 309 yards passing per game is good for first in the NFL. For the Texans, they're 1-11-1. Though they did play a tough game against the Cowboys last week. Fourth in the AFC South. And it's just, there's not a lot to talk about here. They're on an 8-game losing streak at this point. It would be a 12 if not for an improbable win over the Jaguars. Their defense is terrible. It's pretty, I want it to be nicer, but it's terrible. 24.2 points per game against 26th in the NFL. Their offense is even worse, impressively. 16.2 points per game is good for 30th in the National Football League. We're showing Kansas City's going to cover this one 99% of the time. And I like it. We're going to go KC minus 14. I don't like these big numbers, but this one feels right, especially after the Texans played their Super Bowl last week, almost beating the Cowboys. Chiefs minus 14, minus 110 at Bovada. And that's going to take our parlay, now 7 of 8 picks in, up to plus 58.43. We're talking big money this week. Our final game, our last NFL game as well. The Arizona Cardinals had Denver to take on the Denver Broncos. And just like everyone thought when this schedule came out, it's going to be Colt McCoy against Brett Rypien. We're showing Denver is going to win this one more often than not, but it's fairly close here. Arizona loses Kyler Murray for the season due to the torn ACL last week. I don't think it's going to matter that much. This really does come back to who do you trust more? Colt McCoy, Brett Rypien. McCoy has proven that he can be a competent quarterback in the NFL. This is not a high-stakes game. The Cardinals are 4-9, third place in the NFC West. The Denver defense is good. We'll give it credit. 18.3 points per game against. But it seems like the steam has come out of this team a little bit over the past couple of weeks. They're a mess. And again, Brett Rypien has thrown, he's 28 for 54 on the year, 241 yards, touchdown, 2 interceptions, and a 28.9 QBR. We're showing it's basically a coin flip who wins this one, but I feel good and I really like the opportunity to get a little bit of plus money here. You don't get that. You don't get it a lot. You don't get the chance at plus money all the time. And actually, has this game just been pulled since we started this? How about that? Since we began this show, this game was in fact pulled off the schedule at Bovada for reasons that are not 100% clear to me. I assume it has to do with the announcement that Russell Wilson cleared protocols but won't play. So, where do we get our last pick from? There are a couple of overs that I really like. And the one that I like the most is, in fact, this Vikings Colts over. 47.5, minus 105 at Bovada. And we'll take that as our 8th pick, drafted in at the last moment when other games get pulled off the schedule. But look, that's what it is. And this is a gigantic number, ladies and gentlemen. Biggest number in a while. 8-pick parlay plus 11,503. $100 bet wins $11,503. All right. That is it for this week's episode of In Pursuit of a Parlay. I've been Chris Horwedel. Thank you so much for listening, for watching, for supporting. It's appreciated. And we will see you back here next week.